Broadcasting to you live from the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America. No longer California. We'll leave it at that. My name's Brian Engelman, and that is Blake Walley. This is the Agree to Disagree show. And we are on the new American media because the old American media has failed you. I mean, how many people have told you that President Biden, he's fine? How many people have called him president after what we saw in 2020? Yes, air quotes for all of our Spotify listeners, of course. Very few believe. I believe a plurality of American voters disbelieve, don't trust the validity of the 2020 outcome. And that's based on various polling that I have seen. Where are we at today? Has anything changed? Has anything changed? New intro there. Hold on. What? We have a new intro?
It's not a new one. It's not a new one. It's an old one that has been reusing, I guess. So it was already there the whole time. Didn't have to make one.
A short. Well, okay, so we'll do that here.
No, there's not a shortened one of that other one because that would. I don't even know how the logistics of that would take forever.
Okay, so there's a new one. We'll get to that. But anyway, as we get into the 2024 meat of the election season, we were trying to figure out, are we in any better shape than we were 4 years ago? Obviously, with inflation and global chaos and war breaking out. No, we're not in better shape that way. But I mean, better shape electorally for the validity, for the transparency, for the double checking ability and the double oversight and the security cameras and no fake votes and no signature verification bypass mechanisms. Like, are we in a position where we can actually feel like the election is going to be safe and secure? And I would argue the answer is unfortunately no. And we are getting a lot of pushback now, and we're going to cover it today. We're going to ask, are the Democrats planning to steal the 2024 election? We're going to ask if Biden should veto the SAVE Act because of what? Falsehoods? Okay. Also, anyone against the SAVE Act, you know, it kind of makes you wonder, are they traitors? And if so, are there any consequences to being a traitor? I think I read about that somewhere, but who am I? What do I know? Let's talk about Pete Buttigieg. Is he using the DMV to register illegal alien invaders to rig and overthrow the 2024 election? And if so, what is the charge? And who will arrest him? Also, puppets. We kind of think of Joe Biden as the Barack Hussein Obama puppet, rightfully so. Or, you know, you got George Soros, you got some of these globalist interests. But is it actually the other way around? Is Obama actually Joe's puppet? I can't wait to unpack that story. Also, what's going on with Joe? Let's play the guessing game. Dementia or Parkinson's? Spin the wheel. Dementia or Parkinson's? Or let's just gaslight them back because that's what we do on every episode now. We just say, Joe Biden. Oh, stunning and brave. Strong, sharp as attack. Joe Biden. Fixing all of the Trump mess. Joe Biden. It's what America needs. Strong candidate, vivid, cogent, coherent, inspiring. I think Joe Biden's the right man for the job. That's why he's the unopposed nominee. They didn't even have primaries. They just said he's our guy. So we're fine with Joe. That's my effort to gaslight all of you. Also, Kamala Harris. And
Brian interjecting his opinion on every single question already.
I'm asking the question. I'm just asking the question. I'm just posing the question. Am I saying the name Kamala Harris wrong? Isn't it Kamala? 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 I don't know. Harris, should she be disqualified? I actually think this is a very... It's a tricky point to make. But it also feels super obvious when you just take one step backward and take a look at the full jigsaw puzzle. We'll break it down. And finally, the Nashville nut job. Remember the Nashville nut job? Went in and killed a bunch of Christians. I feel like I'd like to know what spurned that anger from that Nashville nut job, but are we ever going to get to see the daggone manifesto? I mean, that's a question I'm asking, and it's a question we have been asking here since it happened. So we're going to unpack all of these stories and more on the other side. This is the Agree to Disagree show on the New American Media.
See, there you go.
That's a super show. All right.
Well, that's what you kind of wanted, right? I don't know exactly what you have in mind. You want me to do the one with the super cut and all the other people and somehow trim that down into 30 seconds?
I think we could do a robust 20-second where each of the clips with us interviewing interesting people gets a second and a half. It goes boom, boom, boom.
All right, Brian. Boom. Well, you get your computer and I'll teach you how to edit. And
nope, not doing it. Not doing it. But let's talk about this one today. Blake, agree or disagree that the Democrats are planning to steal the 24 election? That sounds like balderdash to me. What say you?
I'm going to say 100%. Now, I'm not talking about 2020, so you don't need to shut me down for this, for daring to question the integrity of the election. But I'm saying coming up in November, they're going to do everything they can to steal the election. They cannot afford to have Trump and MAGA take over.
And by the way, let me just add, I put the light blue scroller at the bottom if you'd like to get some countervailing views about 2020, since we're talking about elections. Make sure you go to cisa.gov/rumor control, because they want to tell you that was a safe and secure election, the only one in election history. All the others, rife with fraud, but you need those countervailing views, says cisa.gov/rumor control. So there you go. It's scrolling at the bottom, so you can never take our videos down, you jerks. Even though YouTube, Meta, trash companies. Yeah. Trash companies. So follow the New American Media on Rumble and on X at American_Media_. Blake is at TV's Blake Walley. So let's unpack this 2024 election. Where do we want to start today? There's a lot of angles and there's a lot of pushback, and we have a couple of months. Like, what is going to happen between now and the election? It seems like it's all hitting the fan right now. The Democrats are way too comfortable running Joe Biden. It's like he's going to get demolished unless they can pause the election and flip it again magically, allegedly.
Yeah, we'll see if they can. So if things start getting hairy, 8 o'clock at night or whatever, and all of a sudden, oh, sorry, we're going to have to wait until tomorrow to finish the counting, and Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Nevada, Georgia, and Arizona. We're not playing that game again. So, and then, look at all of the overnight. They found just all the mail-in ballots and whatever. I'm not going down that road. But we've already endured that and have had to deal with the consequences, legitimate or not, over the last 4 years. But now it's refreshing to see Elon being very outspoken about voting integrity. So he's slapping those in favor of illegal immigrant voting with a brutal label and suggests a severe penalty. So the Biden White House, they've come out in opposition. They proposed this Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, or SAVE, which is our headline and our thumbnail. And that has been sparking backlash online, including from Elon Musk. Musk sharply criticized the administration's stance because the bill is designed to prevent illegal immigrants and non-citizens from voting in federal elections, which some would think would be common sense, unless you're trying to steal the election and you want to use these people as a voting bloc. But here's the quote from him. He says, the goal all along has been to import as many illegal voters as possible. According to Elon, the billionaire, writing as a response to a post from House Speaker Mike Johnson, because he is asking, why are Democrats so adamantly against ensuring that only American citizens vote in our elections? Because they want to turn illegal aliens into voters. And we must pass the SAVE Act to prevent this. So it's also good to see Mike Johnson, who seems to have cozied up to many of the wrong people in Congress, but at least is making sense on this one. This one is something that we should all agree on, unless you're worried about not winning the election and you can use these people as, to push you over the top and to win it for you. And you're going to turn a blind eye because the ends justify the means.
So it sure feels like that's the obvious plan going on. I mean, why else would you flood a country with people illegally? Like intentionally reverse course on every major immigration policy to bring in unvetted people. Remember, this Biden administration tried to get you fired from your job, tried to make it uncomfortable for you in life, as Fauci bragged about. Biden tried to kick you out of the military if you didn't take the jab. And then they're letting millions of unvetted people just swarm into the country like a flock of locusts to start consuming all of the public welfare resources that are meant for American citizens in American cities who need help. That was the story of the Bronx when we went out to cover it. The citizens there were just like, how dare New York and Washington facilitate a situation where tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people are flooding into our city, our state, and they're like, we're struggling, we're poor, we need help. Why are they living in four-star hotels for free? Why are they getting prepaid Visa cards for $2,000? You want to help somebody? Help us. What the hell's wrong with you? Like, they were irate about this. So it doesn't make sense unless they're trying to either repopulate a population that is too low already or anticipated to go much lower for whatever reason that may be. Wink, wink. We're not allowed to talk about that. Or it's to rig the damn election. Maybe it's both. But nobody's telling us any valid reason. So what else can you do but assume? Make some assumptions and put a hypothesis together. That's my thought.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's never really made any sense. They could never really give an explanation, and for the longest time, they just pretended like there wasn't actually a problem. It was just some thing that the Republicans were shrieking about, and there was no there there. But then at some point, the dam collapsed, and they realized that yes, there is a major problem festering at the border, and they've let all these people in. If they were getting stopped at the border, they were flying them in the middle of the night. And these cities were getting flooded with people. And yes, as the Bronx and many other locations, they were, overwhelmed and wondering why are they getting prioritized over the local, like, legal people that were already here that could use the help.
And let's not forget all the reports coming in from the airports across the country. There's special lines for illegal aliens who don't have identification. I'm sorry, aren't we in a post 9/11 world where you need to have identification to hop on a plane? It's like, hey, come on in, people who, I don't know what you've done in your past. You might be a criminal. You might be on wanted lists. You might have tuberculosis and AIDS and COVID and gonorrhea and hepatitis and typhoid fever and the Black Plague. But come on in. Make sure you bring that child who may or may not be related to you as a coyote doing some human smuggling here for God knows what. Make sure you put that kid into the school system with little Jimmy. And let's make sure that he gets sick from whatever we didn't test in whatever city we pick, because we're going to fly you anywhere USA for free. I mean, Blake, it defies logic what's been happening. Unless this is part of a very well orchestrated third Obama term, Orwellian plan to just blend our societies together, lower the quality of living for everybody, and take America down a few pegs. I've heard Obama say similar things in the past, and it sure seems like his people are pulling the strings because Joe doesn't know what day it is. He doesn't know where he's at. I mean, I've never seen more of a puppet candidate in my life. People used to talk about Reagan in his second term, like, oh, he's old and he's getting a little this or that. That is nothing compared to what we're seeing right now. And it's the same with Watergate. Oh, my gosh. You mean somebody broke in and tried to find something out about the DNC? Oh, what a thing. Oh, my God, Watergate. It's like, holy crap. Did you see what Barack Obama did to spy on Trump, candidate Trump, President Trump, to overthrow Trump in a coup? The 51 intelligence, like, these are big stories, and it's like in comparison to Watergate's nothing, a big nothing. But the deep state used that to get rid of Nixon, who was actually very popular, to bring in an unelected yes man, Gerald Ford, to just kind of push their preferred agendas forward. So it's really strange times. And by the way, speaking of removing presidents and coups, I mean, look, RFK Jr.'s out there. He's asking, are any of you aware that the deep state, the CIA, that they killed my dad and my uncle? They overthrew the country in 69?
63.
63. I was confused. 69 was the moon landing, right?
Yeah.
RFK Jr. is out there talking about that very openly, and he's getting almost no attention for that. Just flat out saying the CIA, that the American deep state killed my family to overthrow this country in a coup. And we saw what we saw in 2020 to overthrow Donald Trump. And it's just the Democrats are way too comfortable trying to run the brain dead Biden. It feels like the fix is in, like they have some sort of wild card. And is it just illegal alien invaders that Buttigieg is going to run through the DMV and get them processed? So I know that's another component coming up here. I don't know if you want to jump to that or keep going with a couple more before we slide over there.
Yeah, well, that's definitely that's coming up, and this will all kind of blend together anyway. But yeah, it's not just Obama and the border here. It's England, it's France, it's Germany, a lot of these other countries, Ireland, some of the Scandinavian countries, Sweden. They've been overwhelmed with illegals with this immigration policy.
They're
destroying everything, right?
They're migrants. They're mainly military-age fighting men coming from various countries across Africa, Central America, South America, primarily. But I mean, there's plenty coming in from the Middle East, from Asia. Very few from Europe. It seems like there's a very, very specific set of demographics that the deep state is trying to populate people with. Populate countries with. Yeah, this is very orchestrated. Oh, there's a migrant crisis? No. There's migrant funding to reconfigure the demographics of nations. That's what's happening. Somebody is playing Sim City to try to, behind the curtain in the Wizard of Oz, trying to micromanage society into God knows what for God knows what reasons. You can only guess what that may be. But yeah, Blake. It's really tough to comprehend how this has been allowed, how there's been no repercussions, how everybody just seems to be tolerating it. I know Texas put up a bit of a fight, putting up some razor wire. Then the feds came in and took it down, and they're cutting holes through it. It's like, why don't you just evict the feds off your property? Where is the pushback in Arizona? I mean, Maricopa, it's you want to find a place that's less likely to believe the outcome of a vote than Maricopa. Good luck. I mean, Sheriff Joe was the most badass, popular guy out there, tough on crime. You're not going to come into my county and cause problems. You're going to be in a chain gang wearing pink, sleeping out in a tent in 125-degree heat, pal, eating a bologna sandwich on a good day with water. Like, that's how you deal with dirtbags in your city, in your state, in your country. You treat them like dirtbags. You don't bend over backwards and cater to them, but that's what all the blue cities are doing. They don't prosecute the dirtbags anymore. So the rest of society suffers. The rest of America drops down a few pegs as it's invaded by a narco state, a criminal state, a deep state cabal working with all of the drug runners, the human traffickers, to get their piece off the top and maintain a little bit of puppeteering control. Cass Sunstein wrote his book, Nudge. Just trying to nudge things in little directions. Just want to push everything into the proper places. But none of it's good for America. None of it benefits the citizens of America. This is for some long-term plan, short-term, medium, and long-term goals that are no good. I have yet to hear the benefits, the alleged benefits of these plans that really do seem illegal and treasonous in my book. It seems pretty obvious they are.
Yeah, but it seems like people don't really pay attention or seem to care. I mean, it seemed like the elections recently in France and England, and it's like, people aren't. It seemed like they just voting for their own enslavement. They're voting for the destruction of their country and their culture. They're just begging for the end of civilization.
Can you give us an update on that? I was thinking that would be in the stack. It didn't make it today, but
I did have parts of it, but I didn't even go that far. Yeah, I thought the Reform Party would do better in England, and then the Conservative coalition in France. But it seems like they're voting more like leftist radicals, and they're right.
Well, like Le Pen had the most, like their party had the most votes in France. It was like 34%. They won, except then. It's a different electoral system. Then you consolidate, kind of like, you know how the Libertarian Party chose their candidate and ended up with a very surprising candidate.
There you go. They're supposed to be some of the most politically sophisticated people in this country, right? And then they end up they're booing Trump, and then they elect this total wacko radical.
And I guess in France they were Macron and these people were so terrified. They teamed up with the Marxists and the communists and said, look, we'll sell our soul. We just got to beat these guys. So they partnered up to take all these small percentages and add up to enough to take out the ones that the people primarily voted for. It was
right.
Yeah. I'm never using the words far right in my lifetime. There's no such thing as far right. Just not saying it. Just I'm not playing their word games. Anything that they disagree with is far right. That's a slur, and I don't slur the right, because I think the right in general has some pretty basic concepts: conservative, libertarian, Republican, various versions. But the right is just they're right. They're right about a lot of the core components.
They were far right in the 90s and the 2000s, right?
So I'm not using that term, but anyway.
All right. Well, yeah, I think it was ironic, because yes, the Republicans, who I did think were more far right in the 90s and 2000s, have come much more moderate to the left. But then the left has gone so far to the extreme left that now it just appears that they're far right, but that's not actually accurate. So, but anyway, and Elon has pointed that out as well. That's an interesting thing. But lately, he was saying that anybody who's opposing this new SAVE Act, try to protect election integrity from illegal aliens and voters, he's saying, what's the penalty for traitors again? He then asks, suggesting that should be sentenced to death or imprisoned for a minimum of 5 years, fined at least $10,000, and prohibited from ever holding office in the United States, per the Constitution. So that was that's escalating things.
If anyone wants to go back through the archives and run a search, ask how many times I've brought up treason and the penalties of treason. I mean, there are standing up for the ideals of the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, and there are obvious subversion attempts to overthrow this nation in a coup that could lead us into a hellscape dystopia, rather. I'm trying to avoid that with everything I got, trying to expose all of this stuff.
Yeah, we've been trying for a long time, and it doesn't seem to be working. So, like looking at France, looking at England, it's just like they want us to crash and burn. I don't know. And do we hold hope for America and having integrity, and for people to wake up and to realize, oh my God, yeah, maybe some of these conspiracy theorists were right? Or are they going to continue to vote for the establishment again? So it just seems they never learn, or there's something rigged. I don't understand it very much, but I'm trying to hold on to that hope, Brian. But it's losing by the day. So of course, the Biden are expected to veto the SAVE Act, preventing illegals from voting, based on supposedly easily disproven falsehoods. I guess that was one of the captions in the stack. Oh yeah, here we go. Biden should veto SAVE Act because of falsehoods.
Falsehoods. That's great. Falsehoods. Cheap fakes because of cheap fakes. Because of falsehoods and cheap fakes. Okay.
Right. Well, they're saying that since it's already illegal for non-citizens to vote in federal elections, it is a federal crime punishable by prison and fine. fines, like that makes any difference to them. So the alleged justification for this bill is based on easily disproven falsehoods. Additionally, making a false claim of citizenship or unlawfully voting is punishable by removal from the United States. Like, who's actually going to enforce that? See, that's the problem. How many people actually did this last time around in 2020, knowing that they were committing a felony and just didn't care? Or maybe they were just like, unintentionally, but they didn't know, or they could plead ignorance, or I didn't speak English, I didn't understand what I was saying, I didn't know the law, it wasn't made clear to me. And so, I mean, it'd be different if they had people sign a, yeah,
Blake,
they don't have to sign a waiver. They don't say, hey, right. Okay. Go ahead.
Sorry. You go first. I'll talk about polling in a second. Good.
Okay, but it's not like when people check in to go vote and they make somebody sign something that says if you're voting illegally, you're going to be subject to getting exported or put in jail for 5 years and hit with a $10,000 fine.
I mean, there need to be poll watchers at every polling location. There need to be police there. And if you are not in the database as a citizen, you should be immediately arrested and taken to the back of the gymnasium in your holding room to be deported if you're up to that. This isn't rocket science. This isn't mean. This is the most important rule in a republic, a constitutional republic, is you have to safeguard the people who contribute to said republic. If you're not a shareholder, you don't get a vote, pal. And there should be big signs in every language. We're going to run your name through the database. If you are not a citizen, you will be immediately arrested. And there should be all hands on deck, every polling place across the country. I'm not sure if the SAVE Act goes that far, but it should.
Yeah, no, I agree. But they're not going to go for that because it appears that they are setting the stage to keep the voting laws loose and to use these people as their voting bloc to keep them in power.
Nice comment from Kenneth. He's commenting on me saying about poll watchers, and he says poll watchers are not just for strip clubs anymore. All right, so I like that. That's a nice poll watching pun. Well done, well played. But I did want to mention this. We were talking about Nixon. Kenneth saying that Nixon did take us off the gold standard, though. How Nixon was very popular. He was a good president. But my reply to that was just that it was actually Kissinger who took us off the gold standard in 1973. Yes, Nixon trusting Henry was perhaps his worst decision there. But it was really Kissinger that pushed for that.
Well, he was certainly the ambassador. He went around and, talked to all these people and made it happen. But I mean, if we would have been taken off, I mean, we were already in trouble as the reserve currency. And people were realizing that, because of all the money we were putting into Vietnam, that we were basically fudging the value of the dollar. And then they came up with this brilliant idea to make a deal with the Saudis to make the petrodollar and to force every other country in the world to buy oil with dollars. It had to be only exclusive rights. And then we made that deal, and then we provided security, made the Saudis rich. And that was kind of the deal. Otherwise, we would have lost our standard of living back then. We might not have had our reserve currency. So that it's very complicated. I'm not.
But if that was such a good idea, why did Biden just get us out of it? We're no longer. They're no longer trading in U.S. dollars. Right. That's gone. It's now a basket of currencies. It's all the BRICS nations lining up to destroy our dollar. It's the chickens coming home to roost, the blowback that Ron Paul warned us about 40 years ago, if anyone was listening.
Right. I mean, we could go back farther and say, hey, if the deep state or the CIA didn't blow JFK's head off and we didn't have to go into Vietnam, then we might not have had to have the inflation with the dollar to where we had to make this get off the gold standard. So that's another story too. I don't know, but now that we're off the petrodollar, now it's time to be very concerned. We've already dealt with enough inflation and printing out money, and these countries, other countries around the world are going to start dumping the U.S. treasuries. The dollar is not going to have the same value that it did, and they don't have to get American dollars so that they can buy oil from the Saudis. So, it's just a tick-tock before our the economy could collapse again. So
we had a
US
good run.
dollar's in a lot of trouble.
We had a great run. We had a good run.
We did, certainly did. But yeah, it's going to be some pain perhaps coming unless we get hopefully Trump and then maybe get rid of the Federal Reserve and start a new system over, because we don't need to be in debt to these private bankers, the private banking cartel anymore.
I don't know. I feel like the pain of falsehoods is probably worse, though, if we were to balance them.
Yeah.
The pain of our impending collapse, but like the pain of a falsehood regarding illegal aliens voting, that seems like the real thing we should address.
Yeah, because then if we allow those people to vote, and we'll never be able to vote back in again. So
what do they say? You can vote your way into communism, but you have to shoot your way out. There
you go. Yeah, it would be something like that. It would be very bad.
Yeah, when you're upside down in the voting block, like there is no return. It will always lead to a revolution. Maybe not immediately, but like when you can no longer vote. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to stuff the ballot boxes, just like they've been yelling for decades about trying to stuff the Supreme Court, stack the Supreme Court. Yeah, I mean, if we lose, I don't know what France is going to do. I don't know what England is going to do. Ireland, all of these countries in Europe, they have been attacked with the same plan that has been attacking Canada, overtook Canada years ago with Trudeau. I can't believe Canada has fallen the way that it did. Those Canucks are way too polite. They need to get some spirit up there. They've lost their damn country. They've lost their damn minds. But once again, did the people actually vote for Trudeau, or did the ballot tabulation machines tell you that that's who people voted for? I mean, I was having the conversation the other day about the demographics, the makeup of the country, and who votes for who and who believes what. And I'm like, I don't believe that so many people vote against their self-interest and vote Democrat. I don't see it. I don't actually believe it. I think they figured out how to ballot harvest and manipulate their big city systems perfectly. The overlay map of red and blue of the United States, it's red everywhere, except for a couple of dots in a couple of big cities. And that's how they try to tell you the country's 50-50. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Those cities are falling apart. The schools are trash. The infrastructure's trash. There's trash everywhere. They're not prosecuting the criminals. Homeless all over the place. Drugs, crime all over the place. The cities are the most mismanaged places. But I love the great American cities. I hate what they've become. I just find it impossible to believe that after 6 decades, 7 decades, you look at Detroit and St. Louis and Cleveland and Chicago, and pick your liberal bastion, your ideal city on the hill, your shining beacon on the hill. I don't believe that the people in these cities keep going, yeah, you know what? Nothing's going right. Let's stay the course. I just don't believe it. Maybe they are manipulated and indoctrinated, or maybe the votes are being taken and tabulated without them knowing. I don't know, but my gut says there's not as many people who vote Democrat as we're allegedly told there are. Oh, yeah, it's a 49-47 election right now. Trump might be up by a point or two. Like, in what universe is this remotely close? We haven't seen an administration this inept and this traitorous ever. Obama was pretending to be normal his first 2 terms because he had to. He's all in under the guise of Joe Biden as the marionette C-3PO puppet robot just walking around being guided to the next thing like Mr. Burns. He's just Anyway.
Perhaps, but I don't know. It seems like a lot of these people, they just just go along with whatever the media tells them to think. And they're just, they believe the wrong people, bad information, and they somehow twist it as the Republicans' fault or somebody else's fault. And they continue to vote for the people that are destroying them. But also, to make this point on this tweet here, they're not necessarily importing Democrat voters. They are importing people. and the names, and that allows the state fraud process to generate ballots. That's an important distinction, so that the migrants will not use the ballots. So it won't be like, illegal aliens necessarily walking into a voting precinct and casting and causing a federal crime, but it'll be just DNC harvesters will collect them. So they'll fill them out. So they have their names. They'll be able to, call for, order up a mail-in ballots for everybody, fill them out on their behalf. They'll, throw them $20, and then the precinct workers will just scan them and count them. So illegals don't need to vote. They only need to exist. They only need to have a name somewhere so that they can create a ballot for them.
This is such bad news. This is such bad news. I know Charlie Kirk's been working really hard.
Here's Charlie Kirk right here. He says, Elon Musk is right. Anyone who's against the SAVE Act, which requires proof of citizenship to vote, is a traitor to America. What other possible explanation is there besides Democrats want illegals to vote? Democrats and Joe Biden are an existential threat to America.
Agree 100%. And the mechanisms that could potentially allow that are terrifying right now, Blake. Terrifying that it's possible that the fix is already in, and that all these new registrations, like you kind of insinuated there, they're going to be put aside. The ballots will be air quote mailed out. They'll be returned via Dropbox. Sure, they will. Vote harvesting. Or they'll just appear. They'll be uploaded in a database to a computer system that's totally not connected to the internet, but totally is. And all those names just appear. Bloop. We go to bed with President Trump up 700,000 votes in Wisconsin. And then bloop. Oh, look. Brrr. Remember that fraud thing where that exponential burst in blue comes up at 3 a.m? Okay. And we just went along with it and rolled over and let other people take control of the country and drive it into the ditch. Okay. That's where we find ourselves.
The courts wouldn't look at any of the evidence, and they never did complete the audit in Arizona. And so they did not go through all that. And then all the affidavits, like 7,000 affidavits of people alleging election fraud in Michigan, that was never seen. Yeah, there was a lot of problems. Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin.
Behind the doors in Georgia. You keep hearing about that one, right? Like there's votes to look at in a locked room inside of a building in Georgia, and they've been ordered to turn them over, but it's been a year and they've refused to do it. Now they're saying they don't want to pay for the storage anymore, so they want to destroy all of the ballots. That's one of the 50 Georgia stories. And it's just like, there's nobody in charge. There's no enforcement mechanism. But don't worry, there's a plan. Trust the military. Okay. Yeah, I'll just lay down and trust. Yeah, someone's clearly in control since everything's been upside down for 4 years straight. Yeah, there's a plan. Okay.
Ooh, definitely. Got to trust the plan. Let's see if I can pull this one up.
Yeah, I mean, the Republicans have gotten more savvy trying to register more voters and get into the pre-voting and all of that. But, God, it's go time right now. It is so crucial that they're able to stop some of this stuff. But there's going to be legal fights. America's first legal and Supreme Court. People really need to weigh in on this.
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, in Wisconsin, that Justice Gableman, he did a great job of going around and pulling up all these problems and pointing them out. But I don't think anything's going to happen with that. So again, it just seems like people are tuned out. They just don't seem to care. And the whole world is just heading for a total collapse. And we're just going to be vacuumed up by World Economic Forum, New World Order, what have you. But it's gone. I couldn't get that tweet up about the trust the plan stuff. So yeah, it's been 4 years. So we're all tired of it. It's probably not going to happen at this.
Oh, point. you had a trust the plan tweet.
Yeah, but I don't know if I'll be able to.
It's all right.
It's on my desktop, and I was unable to.
Anyone who knows has heard that, oh yeah, this is all just part of a plan.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, you did find it.
I had to upload it in order to get it. So can you see this? Yeah, trust the plan. The arrests are coming anytime. Watch your phone, Brian, for the alert message. 2 more weeks. We are winning.
Yeah, Patriots are in control. Sure. Okay. Likely story. How about we get some legitimate, actual, tangible, verifiable wins? Just how about you get something tangible? I don't want to hear pie in the sky stuff. I want actual wins. And
it's all happening behind the scenes, Brian. They're panicking.
Oh,
you listen to X22. It's yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Have you listened to X22 in a while? I haven't a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
He used to give me the hopium, but now I don't know. It's kind of gotten old, I suppose, because nothing really has happened. But I guess now we're so close to the next election, it doesn't matter anyway.
In general, I found that show gives a lot of the right stories worth talking about for that news cycle. The least interesting or compelling or fun part of the show is when they try to read some sort of drop or pretend that there's a plan. It's like, oh, shut up. Just do the news. Just tell us what's going on. I don't want to hear any of this other crap. But yeah, I think they do a good job of filtering to kind of give you the brass tacks of what's what in about 45 to 60 minutes. But yeah, I could do without any hope.
10-year delta.
Yeah. Yeah, a 4-year delta coming up on blah, blah, blah. Anyway. All right, so Elon, election integrity crusade.
Yeah, breaking down all Democrats, make it near impossible to prove voter fraud. That's the other thing. So even if there was all kinds of shenanigans, you wouldn't be able to look at it. They would probably shut us down for even talking about it. The courts wouldn't look at it. And he's saying, when combined with mail-in ballots, the system is designed to make it impossible to prove fraud. Mail-in and drop-box ballots should not be allowed. And yes, cameras in the in-person voting stations would at least prevent large-scale fraud. But either way, I wouldn't have any faith that they could actually properly audit one of these after the shit show last time. The courts didn't do anything. And then Arizona, they made some good progress in Arizona, but they were unable to get all the Dominion logs and all the information. They prevented it. They kind of ran the clock out. And we never got to really find out.
And if you can't verify any sort of voting tabulation machine, if you don't have access to the source code, and they're like, oh, that's proprietary. Well, you know what? We're not going to use your company. Why? For what other reason do we use electronic voting? There's no point. We've been able to do paper ballots easy. You do mini stacks. You tabulate it with the Republican and Democrat both watching. They say, hey, I got 77 to 33. Double check it, 77-33. Cool. Put it in the stack. Next. And you just turn and burn. It's paper. And if there's, I demand a recount. You're like, all right, they're in the boxes over there. They're in the corner of the gymnasium storage unit. Oh, whatever. Like, I don't want a tabulation machine. It's completely unnecessary. Completely unnecessary. And it's rife with the potential to change the outcome from the will of the people. Everybody should be rejecting this.
Yeah. Oh man, Kenneth's saying they crush many apples and St. Paul. Yeah, I haven't lived in Minnesota in a long time, but it's disappointing. There's some smart people, but they're probably going to vote Democrat again.
I'm hearing that Minnesota's up in the air, though. It could easily go Trump this time.
Yeah, I said that last time. We'll see. You would think they would finally get it together, but I don't know. I'm not sure if I hold that faith.
It doesn't matter who you vote for. All that matters is who counts the votes.
That too.
I think that's a paraphrase of Stalin.
Yeah, that's Stalin quote. Yeah, doesn't matter who votes; it's who counts the votes. Yeah, but we've just we still have not learned, and this history will keep repeating itself until people catch on. Oh, and let's see. Let me pull up this Rob Schneider tweet. This is great. Yeah, be careful of political parties that warn of a threat to democracy while they themselves arrest their political opponents.
Yep.
Work with tech companies to censor those that disagree with them. Allow men and women's sports and bathrooms. Encourage child mutilation surgeries. Fire federal workers and nurses for not getting experimental gene therapies. Threaten to expand the Supreme Court and eliminate the Electoral College. Cause rampant inflation. Increase the cost of groceries by 26%. Allow 11 million people to illegally cross the border. And push the entire world close to World War III. But again, a lot of people are still going to be voting for Biden. Hey, we even had a couple of people that were trolling the show last week. One leftist and one neocon.
All right.
Of course, they're still going to vote for Biden.
I think that might have been. I think that might have been the same person pretending to be two different accounts. But I digress.
Yeah, could have been.
Could have been.
It could have been just some deep state. Could have been just some Fed having fun. Who knows at this point?
Yeah, Rob Schneider, he makes a lot of good points. I believe he's in the bag for RFK Jr. I don't know if that's where he'll actually vote.
I don't know. I don't think so. We did see him in Nashville, but I don't think it was like, they had this long relationship or anything. I think it was just like, hey, we cannot support anybody that has, similar viewpoints. And I think that was a major selling point for Rob was that, the anti-vax stuff. So love him or hate him. I mean, yeah, Trump did push the Operation Warp Speed, and RFK has been very critical of that. And that's, it's interesting. So I don't know exactly where Rob stands. Not everybody's necessarily endorsing or agrees with everything RFK says or Trump says. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I don't know how anybody could vote for Biden. At least if you're going to be a Democrat, at least vote for RFK, you would think. But I don't get it. So
I don't get it either. Can we talk about what Pete Buttigieg is doing and how that doesn't make sense? That's another thing I don't get. Because this appears to be potentially, like you said, if it's too hard to unpack and understand where the theft happened, how are we ever going to get an official audit? How are we ever going to catch the criminals?
Yeah, and will they actually want it
up at the DMV, and then these are all going to be paper ballots that end up magically appearing in a Zuckerberg Dropbox again and counted, tabulated once you know the exact number from the Republicans. For the Trump side, you go, oh my God, look, we found the perfect number. Well, look, with 1,500 votes to spare. Oh, barely crossed the finish line. Sure you did.
Yep. So that's going to be a problem as well. But yes, the DMV. Yeah, the other thing is they're not going to honor a recount anyway. They get the results as long as you're voting for an establishment candidate that they can control. They don't really care. But if you're voting for a populist and a nationalist like Trump, and he loses, they do not care to look at it. But I mean, when it was Hillary, and they were trying to say it was, the Russians were doing it, they actually did go through with Jill Stein and go and check and do a recounts. But they just came up with the same results anyway. So it didn't go anywhere. And no one was really threatened by it. But once they were threatened with it, with all of the checking signatures and the mail-in balloting and the machines, then they didn't want to touch it. But also got another
real quick, yeah. Kenneth chiming in about the Rob Schneider thing. Making vote copies.
Yeah, good call.
Making ballot copies. Caparama. Election rigorino. Rigged election.
The good old days. Saturday Night Live.
Yes. That was a good skit.
I was just watching some Rogan clip, and I guess it was just super cutthroat. Just the ways they all stab each other in the back and would fight over sketches and steal material, and sounds like a nightmare.
Was that Schneider on Rogan? You're saying?
No, it wasn't Schneider. Forget who it was.
I caught Jamie Foxx talking about when he came in as a rookie on In Living Color. Yeah, and Keenan pulled him aside. He's like, "Look, man, we're all in competition. Like we we have 22 minutes to get all the skits on the air. It was Damon Wayans, Keenan Ivory Wayans. He goes, I was the least funny person on that show. He's like, I had to level up. It's like, you got to be the best of the best. So everything was, I cannot get my piece on the air unless I win. I have to win by writing something funnier, doing a voice, an impression better. I mean, Jim Carrey, the weigh-ins, like the amount of talent that was on that show. Tommy Davidson, man, they were great. That in living color. I actually bought the box set, DVD set, a few seasons of it at a garage sale a couple of years ago. I haven't watched that show in 30 years. I would like to go back and watch some of that.
It was, had a good run there.
Yeah,
back in the day. Right. So yeah, it's disturbing to think, how many just vicious, like just the egos that are behind those scenes. You think they're all like working as a team trying to make the best show, and it's like, no. Behind the scenes, they hate each other and they're competing, and it's cutthroat and vicious.
Did you ever hear the Larry David story? He told a similar story about that. He was a writer on Saturday Night Live, and like his pieces weren't getting used, and so one day he just comes in and he's like, "That's it, I quit. I'm done. You're not using my stuff. I'm done." And he leaves. And he's like, "Oh my God, what did I just do?" And he was telling his friend, he goes, "Just come in on Monday like it never happened." He's like, "What?" He goes, "Just come in like Monday and go, He goes, and he did. And then he worked there another year and a half or whatever it was. And that was like the literal episode of Costanza when he quits and then he comes back like, I was just kidding. Everyone thought he was gone. Like they turned that into an episode, but that was a real thing. The frustration of, I mean, Conan O'Brien was a writer over there on Saturday Night Live. A lot of people, like, the competition is brutal. It's fierce. But like anything else, independent media, everybody's looking for clicks. People only have so much time throughout the day. How do we become the thing that they watch? I don't know. We got to get it figured out, right? Like we got to keep trying new formulas and trying to keep reinventing ourselves and what have you. But everything's a competition, I suppose. That's the beauty of capitalism. I guess it's the ruthless.
It's the beauty, but it's also a problem, because if we were, united and operating strategically, I think we would have gone a lot farther to compete with these mainstream outlets rather than just letting a few egos, drive the majority of it.
Well, let's talk about Buttigieg and the DMV.
A story for another day. We'll get into that. And there's a lot of exciting infighting too. I mean, I'm watching the David Icke stuff. It's just like when he's tweeting and he's just basically, criticizing everybody, and nobody can make the purity test, and we're all getting frustrated because we're seeing all these, losses, pile up over the years, and it's like, why aren't we winning? Why aren't we winning hearts and minds? What is happening here? And it's just, I don't know. Either the people aren't capable, or they're unable to change their minds, or we're not doing a good enough job. I don't know. So I'm trying not to be black-pilled Superman here, but I'm losing my faith as we go. Just ready to just cut and run. Say, hey, we did what we could, but the message isn't getting across. And they hate to see the country fall. But looks like it could be heading that way. And yes, getting back to that story with the DMV is another way for them to rig the elections. DMV is run by the Department of Transportation. So that means the DMV's registering of illegals to vote is being run by Pete Buttigieg, the former military intelligence officer beloved by our CIA blob class. Well, this is a tweet that you sent me, Brian, so I pulled it up. According to this post here, this person says he's a non-citizen. He put it on Reddit. And the DMV automatically registered me to vote. The DMV told me green card holders could vote. What the F is going on at the DMV?
Wow.
So they registered to vote on January 26th when they renewed the driver's license, and he just got their ballot letter through the mail. Most DMV folks do not know the green card is the same as citizenship or do not care. Just register you to vote as part of the license renewal. Yeah, when you go in there, they will put that in there, and so they probably won't make that distinction or do not care. And if you've got your guy in charge of the DMV and you've got, roughly 10 million at least illegal immigrants that have come into this country. It's hard to keep track of all that. Again, that just leaves us vulnerable at the with these ballot harvesting operations. Okay.
Yeah, this appears to be perhaps the number one problem that needs to be addressed right now. And anybody in the past 4 years that's received a air quote green card, like this SAVE Act has to become a thing. It just has to. But what is it facing? You got it in the House. You got the Senate, and then what? Biden could veto it.
Yeah. So it's DOA, Brian. It's a nice gesture. People should see it, but they're not paying attention. And so it's just going to get vetoed, and they're going to rig the next election. So there you have it.
Great. All right. Well, that's leaving me a little more black-pilled than I was at the start of the show. Darn it. I thought the SAVE Act sounded good, but now I'm thinking about it.
The SAVE Act is great. It'd be great if the Democrats were like, yeah, let's sign it. Or if Joe Biden was like, yeah, who cares? I'll sign it. We don't have anything to hide. We're going to win regardless of that. We don't need illegal aliens. They're not here to have a voting block. We want everything to be transparent. We're going to show you Republicans and MAGA that, they like Democrats' policies.
Well, I guess.
But.
Well, I guess then if the SAVE Act isn't going to do anything, if Biden's just going to veto it, I guess it comes down to the Supreme Court needs to chime in, just like they did clarifying some of the Trump attack frame jobs, the election interference from Biden's Department of Justice, collaborating with people in Georgia and New York and Florida, et cetera. It's really just up to the Supreme Court to step in and kind of offer some edicts on the voting guidelines and the policies and procedures. If the Supreme Court does nothing, you're saying this is a shoo-in for the Democrats then, right? This is not good.
I don't know if that Supreme Court can even do something like that, even if they wanted to. So that's going to be, they're doing it the way it's supposed to be done, Congress to the Senate to the president. But if doesn't go there, can the Supreme Court do anything? Will they do anything?
Well,
if they did do something, yeah, they're going to stack the court to put in their own radical leftist judges. Then we're really screwed.
I don't know if the deep state fully appreciates and understands just how little patience the American people have left with them.
You have so much faith in the American people. I don't know if this is people. I think they've lost their way. They've forgotten what America's all about.
Speaking of lost their way, Blake, maybe try disconnecting and reconnecting. Your feed is kind of going in and out.
Okay.
See if we can reconnect through Elon's Starlink there. Make sure you follow TV's Blake Walley on X at TV's Blake Walley. And if you want to donate to him, go Cash App, $. Blake W99 if you'd like to support independent journalism. He's also at thenextlevelnews.com for all of his archive info. Of course, this is the New American Media. I would like you to follow us on Truth Social. We are the New American Media there. On Spotify, the Agree to Disagree Show. On Rumble, the New American Media. On Telegram, TNAM and TNAM Chat. On X at American_Media_. We have a page on Facebook, The New American Media. Like the page. And also search TNAM in the groups section for TNAM Humor, TNAM Grow Something, TNAM Preparedness, all those things. There's lots of TNAM groups, including TNAM's The Agree to Disagree Show. So find those in the groups section of Facebook. Follow the New American Media on Instagram's page. We always send out a lot in the daily stories, usually in the morning, kind of settled into a nice little rhythm of which social media are used to peruse and gather the day's important stories. And that one usually gets morning work. So make sure you're following that. Of course, subscribe, youtube.com/@thenewamericanmedia. And also patreon.com/thenewamericanmedia if you would like to subscribe and support independent journalism. Blake is back with a stronger signal. Look at that.
Am I? Well,
you're 10 of 10 now. You were 8 of 10 and the feed was kind of crackling in and out a little bit.
Yeah, it's still on yellow bars. Ooh, it's bad.
Well, now you're at 9. Oh, now you're at 7. Oh, well. We'll power through. We'll do the best that we can, Blake. All right. Any more on Pete Buttigieg?
Satellite. And it's a beautiful day. It seems like it's a good day. It should have a good signal, but it's not. So I don't know.
Gotcha. All right. Well, anything else to add on Pete Buttigieg?
Nope.
All right. How about we move on to the next one then? About puppeteering. All right. Blake, would you agree or disagree that Obama is Joe's puppet, not the other way around? What say you? Agree or disagree?
I'm going to agree to an extent. I think it used to be.
So there's agree to disagree and agree to an extent. Okay, you're going to agree to an extent.
Well, I would say I would agree years ago. Now, getting to the full story on this was a little interesting surprise here from the former Biden stenographer who's claiming that Biden blackmailed Obama with threats of exposing former president's alleged homosexual affairs. So that's quite interesting, quite revealing, and quite brave of this guy to come forward on this particular issue. So where I would agree that I thought Obama was pulling Joe's puppet strings, I think a lot of people did for a long time. That's been recent, this entire administration, perhaps. It could have been the other way around at some point, that Biden basically recruited Obama back from 2004, back in the day. So this was long running, and so he just had Obama as the front man. And then now things have reversed because Biden is kind of losing it, and now it seems like Obama's the one pulling strings. But it seems to be kind of a team effort, I guess. So they're still just, as long as they can get their agenda through, no matter what. I guess it doesn't matter who's pulling whose strings. But yes, interesting. So let's dig into this. The former Biden stenographer claiming, I already read the headline. So let's go back. It's Mike McCormick, and he worked with Joe Biden. And he was during an interview recently with Alex Jones saying that Biden used potentially damaging information to manipulate Barack Obama, threatening to expose his homosexual affairs unless certain conditions were met, and using the information as a tool for political leverage. Now, this Mike McCormick, he worked closely with Joe during his tenure as vice president. And in this role, McCormick was responsible for accurately transcribing his speeches, his meetings, and other communications involving Biden and other governmental officials. First-hand experience. This guy's got some serious balls to make this case and to go public with this. And I guess he, it was trying to reveal some of the evidence because he was alarmed by what he was seeing. This shouldn't be happening, but nobody really did anything about it. And so he decided he's just going to have to write a book about it, because he went to government officials about the evil schemes going on, names journalists who covered up for the Obama-Biden corruption. But despite the evidence, nobody asked him to testify under oath. So yes, hence wrote the book, went on the Alex Jones show, and exposed some of the dirty secrets that he was seeing, and his speculation that this was a blackmail operation from way back in the day. He probably saw Biden saw Obama as this rising star back from, and kind of got him into this the committees, showed him how Washington works, and then decided to use his charisma and operate as the front man. And then while he was the VP and the puppet string puller, But now it's the other way around to some extent, Brian. That's kind of what I was getting into while you had to step away. So
yeah, that's really it's interesting because for so long we've just assumed that this is Barack Hussein Obama's third and most honest term.
well, it is now, right? But what about 2008? What about from 2004 and beyond? Was it actually Joe? Because it's easier to run as the puppet man as the VP,
So
and then
the
he's
thought
the experienced
process,
guy, right?
so the thought process there would be that what we were seeing from Barack Obama's administration was actually the Joe Biden. Those were his policy choices, actually, instead of Obama's. I don't believe that for a second. Like he was pulling the
Well, it's
strings, like he
radical
was running the show.
Democrats. No, it's still Hillary Clinton. It's still Barack Obama. It's still, Joe Biden, whatever. It's all part of the same little alliance of Chucky Schumer or Nancy Pelosi. So he says, I think people talk about Obama being the puppet master and Biden being the puppet, but I think it was the other way around. I think Obama made his mark in the Democratic circles. That was his big speech at the Democratic convention in 2004. And then Joe Biden, he got on the radar. Joe Biden started looking into his past with his operatives. And then when Obama makes it through, gets him in the Senate, Biden tucked him under his wing. He was the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. So he tucked him in right under his wing and put him on the Foreign Relations Committee so he could get some foreign policy experience. And Biden at that time thought he would be the presidential candidate and have Obama as his VP, but then it went the other way around. But still, it was like they were just using each other. Just, bad people, but they're all on the same agenda at the end of the day, regardless of who is blackmailing who or pulling whose strings. But now that Biden is faltering and he's fading, and yes, it seems to be that Obama is the one pulling strings now, but maybe not the whole time. So it's a more complicated agree to disagree.
So okay. Yeah, it's just hard to think back. And you're saying that Obama could have been the VP or should have been or was almost?
No, I think Biden probably would have wanted to be the president. He always that was his aspirations, and then saw Obama as a potential VP. But then they switched things around as Obama became, a bigger superstar. But that still allows Joe to basically run the show behind the scenes anyway. So he could have been handling Obama. Plus, that's why they put him with Joe Biden, because he was the experienced, senator running from behind this, who knew how Washington worked, so that he could help, the young, talented Obama, survive and thrive in D.C.
Yeah, but you know what Biden really wanted? What Biden really wanted was to make sure he was getting all that sweet, sweet Burisma money. He's running around using the world as an ATM. And by the way, don't call it an ATM machine. That's redundant. That's automatic teller machine. Don't say ATM machine. It's an ATM. Yeah, I mean, maybe that was the perfect role for Biden and his crime family. Just, hey, you go be the front man. I'm going to go be, and son of a bitch, the prosecutor stepped down. What do you know? I said, I'm not going to release any of that aid unless you fire that prosecutor, and son of a bitch. He was gone. I mean, Biden's bragging about his quid pro quo, about extortion, money laundering, theft, graft, abuse of power, treason, whatever you want to categorize it as. Yeah, Biden really slid into that under the radar, super leverageable person. That's what Hunter was doing. He was leveraging the power of his dad, the big guy getting his 10% cut. And then, of course, Joe would get some things passed with Obama, and then, he'd get paid for it. So, yeah, it's interesting. But with so much that's already out about Barack Obama at this point, the Larry Sinclair interviews and all the speculation on Barack's
Bathhouse Barry and his boyfriend was Reggie Love.
Oh, geez. Reggie Love. I haven't said that name in a while. That's straight out of Central Casting too.
But I guess Obama used to take trips to Chicago and Los Angeles on the Air Force One without the wife and kids, and they didn't really know what he was up to. Perhaps having homosexual sex with in various bathhouses, and good for him. Great, but but if he's being blackmailed by creepy Biden, that could be problematic.
Well, and that was the problem with the Hunter Biden laptop, where 51 traitors, they call them intelligence officials, you can call them traitors, lied to rig the 2020 election. Like 18%, 1 in 8 people, or whatever the number was, 1 in 5 would have changed their vote if they would have known. The problem with the Hunter Biden laptop, with all of the underage stuff, with all of the prostitution, sex trafficking stuff, with all of the gun stuff, all the drug stuff, all of the money laundering stuff, this is the most compromised family member perhaps in American political history. That was a relevant point. That was salient. And then Chris Wallace, he ran interference. President Trump had to debate Wallace and Biden that entire time. As Biden sat there and lied to you about, including 8 former CIA directors. You know the thing. That they all said it has all the classic earmarks. Earmarks. Russian disinformation. You know the thing. Come on, man.
Right.
Russian. That's what he did, and Fox ran interference for him. So, I mean, anyway, the point about Obama, though, like, doesn't everyone know who he is and what he isn't at this point? Or I guess not. I guess I just think most people do because I do. Don't people understand who that guy is? Or probably not. Like, we're in our own bubble and we don't realize that most people don't know and don't care. But where there's smoke, there's fire. Where there's nothing but smoke, there's nothing but fire. That's interesting that Obama could have been blackmailed by his VP. That's very interesting accusation.
Right. Well, I mean, hey, they both gained out of it, right? I mean, Obama got to be the president, and you just, you got to suck it up. You get blackmailed. So I guess it's kind of a win-win in a way.
Okay.
Would you be president, but you're totally compromised? But I mean, he still gets to run his own agenda. I mean, they're on the same page for the most part anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that stuff flies anymore. Now I think it's not that weird anymore for people to be, homosexual or trans or what have you. We could probably have our first gay president now. We would probably already have.
Sure. He did everything he could to push the gender confusion stuff. I mean, I had teachers in the end of high school into college pushing the gender confusion stuff, and you were mandated to sit in these classes, and you're like, what are you talking about? What is this? Why are you forcing us to be here? Why are you trying to indoctrinate our little kid brains, our freshman, sophomore brains with this rubbish? Oh, man, that Democrat Party loves pushing that confusion on people. But, yeah, I mean, society's a very different place 20, 30 years later.
Yeah, it sure has changed a lot, and most of it not for the better. Speaking of change, Brian, I've only got 10 minutes, I think, so we're going to race through a couple of these stories here.
Should we bounce to the Nashville nut job since that's on the trans topic? The trans attacking Christians?
Sure. I don't have much to say about it anyway, but we'll roll here. Judge saying Nashville shooter's writings can't be released as victims' families now have a copyright. So the writings of this, was it Aubrey? I forget. Aubrey Hale, who killed 3 9-year-olds and 3 adults at a Christian elementary school, cannot be released to the public. They found that the Covenant School children and parents hold the copyright to any writings or other works created by, Audrey Hale, who was shot by police. Part of the effort to keep the records closed, Hale's parents actually transferred ownership of Hale's property to the victims' families, who then argued in court that they should be allowed to determine who has access to them. So they recognize that claiming copyright as an exception to the Tennessee Public Records Act was a novel argument that previous courts had not ruled on. And in the end, she agreed with the parents group, finding that the original writings, journals, art, photos, and videos created by Hale are subject to an exception to that Records Act created by the Federal Copyright Act. So
I have a real hard time with this. This doesn't make a lick of sense. There's a public interest.
Well, they've seen it, so it doesn't make any sense to you because you haven't seen this stuff. But for people that have seen it, they're like, I don't know if people need to see this stuff.
But we'd like to know the amount of hatred in this person's heart for Christians.
You would, right?
We want to know. We want to know who's indoctrinating these people to be so confused with themselves that they lash out in these fits of rage. Like if there are teachers that are participating in the brainwashing and the brain damage occurring to these kids that's leading to this, I think it's relevant to know there's a public health interest at bay.
Perhaps, but perhaps Brian, if they showed it to you and you would read it and you'd go, you know what, maybe the public isn't ready. This could inspire, copycat people, or this could inspire violence on Christians or trans people or who have you. Is it something that we have to know, or is it something that maybe we should let go?
I think it's a public health crisis right now. The amount of brainwashing and the effort been put into this propaganda campaign to get people very confused into gender dysmorphia. It's not healthy for people to not enjoy who they are, to not appreciate who they are in their own skin, to want to slice and dice themselves and pump themselves full of so many chemicals. It's so destructive, damaging. I pray for the people who are suffering from these types of things. It's okay to be yourself, and you don't need to go this route. And it's not okay to slice kids and do all these things. And it's a really difficult talking point right now. And I think there is a public health interest. That's my short take on it. But copyright is such a weird weaselly way to try to squirm out of this one. How bad was this damn thing if they're being this cautious to let anybody see it? I wonder
exactly.
If just atrocious.
Right. So maybe there's some things that they're better left unsaid.
I think it's good to identify the bad. I think it's good to, I don't know, but that's where I stand. Like you said, there's not too much to talk about it, but copyright, okay. I've never heard, like you said, it's a novel legal argument. I've never heard of anything like this before. It's
so
perhaps the weaseliest thing I've heard in a really long time to try to avoid responsibility and, public information. So
he's going to fuel a lot of anger with the wrong people. I don't know. This could be, there could be a reason for it. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but.
All right. Well, let's.
It's like the JFK thing. Like we want to know what happened with JFK, but I don't know. Do we need the Aubrey Hale manifesto? Can we live without that? I don't know.
I don't know. Okay.
Man, you got a surprise guest here?
Yes, I do. Coming in as soon as you bounce out. I've had Adam on before. He's doing Tour de Patriot. He's riding 1,200 miles across the original 13 colonies to raise patriotism and awareness. That will be once you leave, good sir. Okay. But this is the final topic here about Joe Biden, dementia versus Parkinson's, and Kamala's role. Our final story with Mr. Blake Walley. Follow him at TV's Blake Walley on X and thenextlevelnews.com.
Okay, well, they have, I guess the White House doctor, whatever, has come in and checked him out and confirmed that he does not have Parkinson's disease. That decline appears to be late-stage dementia. Not that they said that, but just to say that, okay, this doctor's credentials, and he didn't, he has serious credentials, and he determined that he does not have Parkinson's. So if he's faltering that badly, it appears that he probably just have dementia like we thought all along. So that's going to be a problem. And then the last issue, I would say, or the last topic that we have there is Kamala Harris, Must she be held accountable for the White House's lies about Biden?
This is a great topic, Blake. This is such an important topic right now, especially since all signs are indicating, we don't know yet, but at least what we're hearing coming out from the DNC and all their operatives is that they're going to go with Harris. They're going to keep her, that there's no way they could leapfrog her, maybe put Clinton as a VP, a total train wreck of a ticket. But Kamala has some explaining to do. Explain what this one's about.
Well, she's covering up and saying like, oh, I didn't know that Joe he seems so great. He was always so sharp when I was around him. I've learned so much from him. But clearly, I mean, it didn't all just unravel on the debate stage one night. They all knew this. They all covered for him. And the fact that they've lied about it to the people, I would think it should be disqualifying for them.
And she's been probably put in a tough spot. She's got to be the
dumbest under the bus
in any room that she walks into. And she's being told by all the deep state people, you know, this is what you say, this is what you don't say. She's just getting a script. And she's probably having some, I don't know if it's martini lunches or it's a combination of pills or her just being an airhead, but good grief, is she impossible to listen to. Sounded like a third grade teacher on an acid trip with her, cackling like a hyena. But she kind of has one role as vice president, and that's keep an eye on the president. And if there's anything wrong with his cognitive abilities, your only job, Kamala, aside from being the border czar, which means you are involved in the treasonous overthrow of America, perhaps by allowing up to 30 million illegal alien invaders in. Thank you for that. But her number one job is to keep an eye on number one and alert everybody with waving hands and red flags and flashing red lights. 25th Amendment time. That's her job. I know she was told, don't you say anything, but it was her responsibility to buck that system and say, look, I think we're at a point this has to be discussed. I need to raise my hand and say, for the good of the nation, we got to look at this. And her inability to do that, if that's not disqualifying, it's astonishing.
Okay, well, I would agree. I think she's, she should be DQ'd. And these press people,
for her.
Right? And there's even another story on that. If you were duped on Biden's cognitive decline, you're too dumb to be a journalist. So, and if you did know, you were in on it. Yeah, this is like a big conspiracy to conceal the health problems of Joe Biden.
Yeah,
so I think it destroys the credibility of the VP, KJP, media, and so many others. So they knew all along. We've been warning about this for 4 years, and it was obvious. So, but anyway.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct about that, Blake. There's going to be a lot of it. You got some splaining to do. Right. This is not going to end well for these. It's such a train wreck. Every day, it's just another layer being peeled back on the onion. So, all right, we'll keep our eyes peeled on how this all plays out with Biden's health. Are they going to remove him? I heard he's negotiating a buyout. I heard he's negotiating how much of a kickback he's going to need from his book deal to step down as president. And he's asking quite a bit, which is what's delaying the process. But these are all just rumors. We'll see how it shakes out. But yeah, the man is toast. The only one easier to beat in a debate and in an election than Biden is probably Harris. So, I don't know that it really matters who the Democrats sacrifice in 2024. It seems like they have 0% chance unless there's shenanigans, which there is 100% chance they will try. So I don't know. There's a lot of competing stuff here. We'll see how it shakes out. Remember last election, all of the mail-in votes from all 50 states, they favored Biden somehow. Wow. But all of the states, they went red in the in-person voting. Okay, so real people are voting red, and then all of the magical ballots, they vote blue. So, two competing stories playing on the same screen at this point. All right.
Okay.
Blake, thank you so much. Any final words on your way out the door? You doing a show tonight?
Yes, there's a Toxically Masculine Tuesday. That's going to be with Mike Barra, Dr. Brooks Agnew, and Trail Boss Steve Doran. That's it's coming up at 9:00 tonight. So if you're on Twitter, follow me or Mike Barra and tune in. We'd love to have you. It's called the Best Round Table on the Net. All right.
Round Table on the Net at TV's Blake Walley. Follow
Yes.
him on Twitter and thenextlevelnews.com. All right, Blake, thank you so much. Appreciate you, sir.
All right. Thank you. All right. Take care, everybody. We'll see you Thursday. All right.
To be continued. Bye. Thanks. There he goes, everybody. And Blake is usually too modest to mention, but if you look there on the screen in blue underneath thenextlevelnews.com and at TV's Blake Walley on X, it says if you would like to support independent journalism, you could donate to Blake Walley on Cash App, $Blake W99. And if there's a little memo screen, tell him that Brian sent ya. All right, cool. So thank you, Blake. We just tore through the news, and now check this out. We got a special. What a wonderful day. What a special treat. What a fantastic surprise, everybody. We have bonus show. I've clicked all the buttons. Why are they not switching? Hold on. I clicked this to add. There we go. We'll try it a third time. That's the key. There we go. Finally remove the... We got a really strong lag on the system here. Try to bring in Adam again. Yeah, we're on like a 7-second delay on the technology. I click it,
Ooh,
then
that's
I
a pretty
wait,
big
and then I
delay.
talk. I clicked it 10 seconds ago. But if I click it again, it'll unclick it just like it did. So here we go. Wow, look at this. Perfect. Adam Boyd joins us again, live from, what do I say, sunny Arizona?
Sunny Arizona, that works.
Heck yeah. Welcome back, Adam. How are you today?
I'm doing well, having a great day, and excited to be here.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us. Adam, oh, by the way, your vocals are a little quiet. Did we have earbuds? I think we switched to
We did
earbuds.
not. Let me crank up the volume here. Is that any better?
Yeah, maybe a little bit better. Thank you for that. We had Adam on about a month ago. Maybe was it a month ago? Longer than that, maybe. I don't know. But we kind of unveiled. There we go. Kenneth is asking questions. Let's pull this up. Let's just jump right into the questions. He remembers you. Let me scroll.
I have a borrowed bicycle right now. So
explain your bicycle situation.
Well, I don't own one. I have yet to get a good response on a company sponsoring one. So I borrowed one from a friend of mine who said I can train with it. I could use it during the tour. And so, yeah, I mean, I essentially have a bike now. I don't own it. So that's where we're at.
Excellent. Well, what is it? Ask and it shall be answered. Knock and it will be opened. If you didn't put it out there that you were looking for it, you wouldn't have even had that. So we're on track now. It's July 9th, Adam. Tell us about Tour de Patriot. If you want to get information, I believe that's tourdepatriot.com, correct?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ways you can get involved. I'm always open to podcasts, social media lives, just any type of promotion connections that you can make. We're also taking donations. You can buy a program. We're doing corporate sponsorships. And now you have a virtual option where you could ride along with me. You just go to, it's going to be on the website. It's a run sign up link, but you can ride all 1,200 miles, or you could ride as little or as much as you want.
So how do you do that virtually? I'm trying to go big screen with you here, but of course my system is lagging immensely. Forgive the technological glitches here. Adam, I'm trying to show you on the screen, less of me, more of Adam. But how do you ride virtually on Tour de Patriot? What's that like? What's that?
So basically, you just go in, you sign up for the virtual race, and then if you log your miles, it's really kind of on the honor system here. You do let's say 20-mile ride, and then you go into your link and you put in 20 miles for the day and 10 miles the next day and 30, whatever it is. And then you can just kind of support the tour that way.
Okay, excellent. So how has the process been since the launch? When did you launch? When did we have you on last? Do you remember? How long? A month?
I think it was late May, I think. We did
so maybe a month and a half, roughly?
Yeah.
So what type of progress has been made on it since? Like what kind of feedback, reaction, logistical updates? Like how I saw in the Unhappy Hour, I also do the Unhappy Hour sports show. somebody reached out to you and said, "Oh, I'm over here. If you come through, let's team." And you're like, "Okay, cool." Like, I don't know if anything came of that, but I'd imagine there's a lot of these conversations happening. How are you putting it all together? Like, what are some of the best updates, and what are some of the areas that you're kind of still in a logjam with?
Well, I'll give you the good stuff, and I want to focus more on how to get the Americans involved, right? So it's actually a friend of ours that we went to high school with reached out. He's a 17-year Navy veteran, and along the tour wanted to give me a tour of his submarine. So I think that's a pretty cool way, or pretty cool stop for the show. I'm excited to get into the submarine and kind of give our viewers a tour of everything within national security reasons. I don't know all the ins and outs of that yet. I have a couple contacts along the way that I've scheduled interviews with. I've reached out to a couple cycling clubs who are probably going to do like a small portion of the ride. You know, if I come into DC, they may do the first 10 miles out with me, and you know, just to kind of show support and get people out there. And yeah, I was also featured on a Tucson news station about this project. So we're hoping to get more media coverage as time gets closer, hit a couple podcasts and whatnot. So the word's getting out there, and we got about 2 months left, and I'm excited to get things going.
No, that is pretty cool. So let's kind of hit reset on the entire project, the rhyme and reason behind it, logistically, when it starts and where it's going, and how many dates and locations of stoppages are locked into stone, and how many are still free floating. Do you have it fully mapped out, like where you're going to sleep and where you're going to eat and where you're going to pause and meet up? Or is it still kind of, you got plenty of time at the moment, and that's not really the most important part just yet? How's that all coming together?
It's coming together pretty well. So I have all the stops mapped out. So I know exactly where I'm going, exactly what day. And if you want to follow along, just go to the Tour de Patriot website. It has the itinerary on there. We're still hashing out some lodging options in different places, but it's all coming together. And I'm pretty confident as we get closer that everything's going to go off without a hitch.
No, that's pretty cool. And just remind us all again from the beginning, Tour de Patriot, what is it? And like, just logistically, it's starting in point A, and then it's going to end where, how many days later? And once again, the reason behind why you decided to do this. I know we talked last time about the origin story of where this came from. I do enjoy that. I do enjoy just randomly having something come up in a conversation. You go, you know what? I'm making that thing happen. That's exactly what you did there.
Well, I mean, sometimes you got to take action. And, you know, that's actually part of the reason behind this whole tour. Like, I want to bring this country together. I want to create some unity. We want to create conversation. I feel like we're talking within our echo chambers. Disinformation is just running rampant everywhere. And nobody's really just having these conversations. And the one thing that we really need to do is take action to take control of not only our elections, but like our towns, our lives, everything. I think for too long we've allowed the government to just slowly like seep into our lives and take over a little bit more and a little bit more. And that's time for us to end that. I know I've become a little bit more self-sufficient. I got some friends that are going to teach me how to hunt. We're learning how to grow food, and I'm trying to rely on my community and my neighbors more than I am Big Brother.
Man, who can you actually count on at the end of the day when you're in need? Who's actually going to be there? Is it going to be Big Brother, or is it going to be your friends, your family, your close neighbors, and your tight-knit community? I mean, we were never supposed to be this massive top-down federal government monstrosity like it's become. We were never designed to be this way. You're talking about riding a bike 1,200 miles to all of the original 13 colonies. How did you phrase it? To build patriotism across the country and try to unite America again. We've all become so siloed in our information. The algorithms we see could be giving you a completely opposite version of reality than the algorithms that someone else is seeing. And there's a lot less of the interaction that people used to have. Say you'd go up to the local pub. It's a public house. It's where the public meets. It's just, it doesn't mean a place where drunks hang out. It's where the public goes. And you'd have your meals there. You'd have your food, and you'd grab some drinks, and you would have a lot of conversations. But even now at restaurants, if you go out to the bars, I mean, you'd say, what, 90% of the people are on their phones 80% of the time? So it's like even where the conversations would be starting. I've gone out to eat more than I have. I've been going out to eat a little bit more frequently recently than usual. And yeah, I've definitely found we got into some conversations, and you'll see kind of quickly, kind of right away, or you find people super into it. Like, people want to talk about this stuff, and they say, "Yo, you're not supposed to talk about politics in a bar." I say, well, yeah, if you're a weakling, sure. If you're unable to handle challenging conversations, of what? So you're also not allowed to have hot sauce on your meal because that might be too spicy for you as well. Well, life is spicy, and politics matters. Politics matters to every one of us. What did Plato said? Indifference to public affairs gives a sanction to being ruled by inferior men. So if you don't like what's going on, brothers and sisters, you need to participate, and you need to have some more uncomfortable conversations and do it in a respectful manner. But people used to gather in the pubs and talk. And that's kind of a component to our society that we're missing these days. So just maybe for a second, talk about the significance of getting back to the 13 colonies and hitting the pubs and kind of going reminiscent to the Green Dragon Tavern, where the Boston Tea Party and the American Revolution, it's often credited that was the birthplace of the American Revolution. People want to talk these days, Adam, about, Civil War. There's going to be a Civil War. It's like, how about a Revolutionary War? Revolutionary wars are where the people win. Civil War, nobody wins, or the bad guys win. So anyway, talk about that kind of component of where we were in the 1700s and what that represents, getting back to those 13 original colonies.
Well, I think it's important for us to understand where we came from. A lot of this gets lost in our history books, and I don't know what they're teaching kids in school these days, but I feel like half of these kids can't even tell us what the capital of our country is, capital of some of the states. Like, we have no knowledge of civics. And so let's take it back to 1775-ish, right before July 4th, 1776, and highlight where we came from. Like, we want to showcase how we got here and all the amazing people that helped shape this country. And of course, right. He talks about we had this negative and this bad and this bad. It's like, well, yeah, we're human beings. We've made a lot of mistakes in our world's history, but how about we celebrate the fact that we don't do some of those things anymore and that we have come a long way. And I feel like it's all about perception. Half this country has this perception that this country's terrible and it's this or it's that. And it's like, well, let's reshape that and be like, well, okay, we did some bad things, but we don't do those bad things anymore. Let's learn and move forward. And I feel like a lot of people just want to sit and look back and judge instead of actually being part of the future.
Yeah, and let's just be very clear. We did some bad things. You and I weren't alive. Whoever's complaining and making a case that everything's horrible, they weren't alive. Nobody did anything to that person. Nobody did. We weren't a part of that. The amount of wins that America stacked up in the process of becoming a nation, there's a lot of positive to focus on. But yeah, I mean, a lot of this starts and stops with the indoctrination system in our schools. It's completely obvious that the shift in the last 30 years to the self-loathing, the self-hating, self-deprecating, the self-flagellation. I remember there's a scene in Da Vinci Code, Dan Brown's book, and it's like the main bad guy or whatever. He's got the whip and he's got the chains attached to whatever, and he's flogging himself and he's splitting his back open, and it's kind of like an act of penance. He's just harming himself as like a sign of submission, some religious thing to be like, you're high and mighty and I'm nothing and I will prove it by harming myself. The teachers have brainwashed and warped the minds of the kids of this country to hate this country. Everything's either a microaggression or an absolute abuse of power from people who weren't us to people who weren't us, and just ignoring all of the good. And that's by an intentional plan. You can't overthrow a country if you have pride in your country. So I think a lot of it does start and stop with that, is just kind of having an appreciation for what is the real history. It's fine to address things that happen that were bad, but why do we have to just keep living in that universe and living in that mentality? It's counterproductive. It doesn't help. It doesn't it doesn't unite communities in any way. It certainly doesn't form a bond between neighbors. It creates resentment, anger, bitterness. Resentment. So, I mean, it feels impossible to kind of counteract that because it's such a coordinated effort to damage the minds of these kids. But like you said, let's do something. Let's take action. Let's do something to kind of spread some positivity and togetherness. And that's what I really like about what you're doing.
Yeah, and I feel like we just need to have some conversations, and a lot of people don't even want to have them. I was walking my daughter in the park the other day, and she gave a perfect metaphor for this type of situation. She was, we were on the way to the park, and she asked to ride on my shoulders as she normally does. And I said, you know what, baby girl, it's good for your legs and your heart and your head for you to keep walking. And she said, Daddy, don't tell me that. It hurts my feelings. And what? I basically told, yeah, that's what she told me. She's like, she says, yeah, she said, Daddy, don't tell me that. It doesn't make me feel good, or something of that nature. And I was like, that's almost every adult I talk to. That the Supreme Court case about immunity came out, like 4 or 5 days ago, something like that.
Right.
A week ago, something of that nature. Well, I sat down and read every single page of that ruling. It was like 118 pages or something like that. And I would bring up, I've seen all these articles about, they're going to be able to do this because of this. And I was like, that's not even what the ruling says. You're not. And then like people will shut the conversation down because I brought up facts that I read on the actual case versus their news article that took a small clip, spun it into a clickbait thing. And they're like, oh, he can use SEAL Team 6 to kill his political opponents. And I'm like, yeah, that's not at all what that ruling says. And the fact that you believe that shows me that you're just being indoctrinated by the news. And as soon as I point this stuff out, conversations get shut down. People do not even want to hear another opinion anymore.
Yeah, I've run into that quite a bit. But look, the name of the show is called the Agree to Disagree Show. We need to get back to that. That hurts my feelings, Daddy. It's like, well, all right, if you don't want to, fine. You can tap out of any conversation. I'm not going to hold you against your will and wrap a cord around your torso and lock you into the chair. You're going to hear what my thoughts on geopolitics. It's like, fine. I'm not going to do that. But we need to have some sort of responsibility as citizens of this country to understand a little bit about what's going on so that we can vote in an appropriate way, so that we can participate in an appropriate way. And if we're just going to close ourselves off and shut down anytime there's an opinion that is new to me, it doesn't mesh with what my news sources are telling me, that's not going to do any good. So I guess when you do the stops on the tour, Adam, are you going to try to like have events? You're going to do like Q&As? You're going to do like try to do podcasts? You're going to do meetups? Like what is it going to be like? There's obviously you're going, remind me again, you're starting where and ending where. And then there's the riding the bike part. When you get to the stopping points, what's going to happen at the stopping points? So
it's going to go from Exeter, New Hampshire, starting at Folsom Tavern, which has a lot of history and ties to the Revolutionary War. And then I'm going to ride all the way down to Savannah, Georgia, and we're going to end at Fort Jackson, which has Civil War implications. But along the way on the stops, I'm going to reach out to either pre-vetted people or just random people too. Like I want everybody's opinion on, on what's going on. And we're just going to have like a little Q&A. And, we'll document the whole thing. And then additional to the Q&A, like we're going to stop and visit like historic sites like, the USS Constitution and, Lincoln's Memorial and things like that along the way. So we're highlighting American history. We're talking to Americans how we can move forward. And hopefully I'll actually have some actual conversations with people where they're open to hearing like different opinions. Because, that's been, I think, the biggest issue we have so far. We don't want to hear somebody else say, it hurts my feelings. I don't want to hear what you have to say. And it's like, well, go into the conversation with the possibility that maybe you're wrong. I read that whole Supreme Court case. I have my opinion on it. I feel like I have an educated opinion on it. Is there a possibility that I'm still wrong and that my views on that case are going to have reverberate out into the future and then have negative implications? It's absolutely possible. And I could be extremely wrong on this, but I feel like I'm educated in that, like, I actually read into it. I understand because of my background. I understand how to read statute and understand law and things like that. But, stop getting your information from little snappy news clips that confirm your bias. Try to figure out maybe your opinion's wrong on that. Maybe you guys have opinions on things that are more similar than you think, because we all kind of want the same things, right? We all want freedom. We all want to be heard. We all want like success in this country for the most part. So why can't we come together? What? Because I feel differently about this issue than you feel about this issue? Like, it's kind of ridiculous.
Right. Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, the name of the show is Agree to Disagree, because if you're in a conversation and you easily, quickly identify, it's like, okay, this isn't going anywhere. You're not changing my mind. I'm not changing my mind. You're getting a little frustrated. I'm getting a little snippy with you. Okay, let's agree to disagree on this topic. Let's talk about something else. Like, there should be a way to just go, all right, let's agree to disagree. Well, let's set that aside. There's no reason for me to huff and puff. I don't need to call you a name. I don't need to storm out of here and make a big deal out of my inability to have a conversation. Agree to disagree and move on. I'm not seeking ways to create new enemies. I'm trying to just have better conversations with people who are my friends and trying to make more friends with people who are open to rational, intelligent, thought-provoking ideas, especially novel ideas. I think a lot of what people have seen recently, Adam, was just watching Biden struggling with his ability to finish sentences, to stay awake, his train of thought. And it's like, hold on a second. That feels like such a red pill moment for the nation, really, because they've been lied to for about 5 years about Biden's cognitive abilities, lied to, gaslit. And it's like, well, hold on. If they were lying to me about all that, is it possible that the 51 intelligence officials was a lie? Yeah, it was. Is it possible that Fauci was full of it? Yeah, it is. Is it possible that the border is a train wreck by design? Yes. So I feel like there's actually an opening right now where there's a lot of people who were into I play on the blue team, I'm a Democrat, I support Democrats. I feel like a lot of those people feel very betrayed right now. And I think a good question is, how do we reach out to those people?
Well, how many times have Republicans been telling you, I told you so? And I'm not even going to, and this is the other thing that happens with this argument. I say people assume that I'm Republican. I've been politically homeless almost my whole life. I typically side with Republicans a lot now, but that doesn't mean I feel like I'm one of them. But we're having these conversations where I'm like, well, this is factual. Like, person A did this, and they're like, oh yeah? Well, what about this? And it's like, well, you just deflected from the entire issue. We're trying to talk about this, but because you can't handle this situation, you deflected and be like, well, your side did this. And it's like, yeah, okay. Well, that's a separate conversation. Well, how about we just own this part of the conversation first, where you're like, well, yeah, we've been telling you for 4 years that his cognitive decline has been an issue. and half the country's completely ignored it. And so
Yeah.
now it comes out in the debate. No, it didn't. Every news clip I've seen of Biden for the last 4 years he's had issues with cognitive decline.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't really a debatable thing.
It's
And
not.
so I don't really, there's so much brainwashing going on right now that people actually believe that this is a new thing. Like, are you kidding me?
Well, and that's what I did a live stream that night, and my reaction was, I don't know, Biden lost his train of thought a few times and said a couple things, and I said he didn't do that bad because he's been doing bad forever. He's been doing bad for as long as I can think back. So I don't know where the other people that didn't see this have been, but I'm just seeing that there's an opportunity now. There's an opportunity now for some people who feel very lied to. So, I'm going to take that with a grain of salt, that there might be an opening for some very disenfranchised, frustrated people who never liked Biden to begin with. Nobody's ever liked the guy. He's been highly unlikable his entire career. But he's been a very helpful tool of the deep state over in Burisma, Victoria Nuland, Ukraine, Russia, etc. But all that stuff aside, yes, there might be an opening now to have some more conversations by just kind of leading with, look, my hunch is your news sources have been telling you a lot of lies. And maybe you start there and you just kind of get from them some of their frustrations, and then you maybe find a little bit of common ground and you focus on the common ground. So, okay, cool. Well, Adam, real quick here, let's wrap this one up, but tell us what you're looking for the sponsors, what you're looking for, like you said, the virtual participation there, how people can get involved, and basically what you're looking for to help build Tour de Patriot into the coolest event that it can possibly be. And how excited are you, by the way, to like, you're getting so close to this thing? Are you getting excited?
I'm nervous. I'm going to be in Ohio in about 2 weeks for a 100-mile run. And then I got about a 4-week break before I got to head to Massachusetts or New Hampshire, excuse me, and do a 1,200-mile ride. What I'm honestly looking for is for some people to get involved how they feel fit for them. If you own, a small company, you want to donate $1,000 or want to get a small sponsorship, please reach out to me. If you want to donate $5 on the Give and Go Send that's on the website, or you want to sign up for the virtual ride, or you want to buy a program of mine, just get on and do it. Part of the proceeds are going to go to support Tomorrow Battalion, which is a nonprofit that helps first responders and veterans dealing with mental health issues, PTSD and whatnot. So, I'm trying to do as much good for this project as I can, not only for the American people, but some of our heroes that really need the help, and every little bit helps. So just any way you feel fit to get involved, just hop on the website, or you can DM me, you can call me, I don't care, email me, whatever you want to do. But I'm happy. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're happy to?
Oh, I'm happy to engage with as much of the American public as I can and get, if I could speak to all 350, 400 million of us, I would. That's impossible, but I would love to have this conversation with as many people, especially people that have opposing views, that are open to like us potentially being wrong, and maybe we can find some common ground. So, however you want to get involved, I'm happy to hear it.
Yeah, and instead of looking in the rearview mirror trying to find fault with everything, it's like just moving forward. How can we do better things? Like you can get caught up in a hamster wheel of unproductive conversation real fast, especially when it turns to current events and politics. But it's like, okay, starting today, what's the best path forward to do something cool today? Let's focus on that. Like that could always be a rallying cry to just recenter, refocus, and just get a conversation that went into the ditch, pull it back onto the road before you blow a tire on that one. Obviously, I have tourdepatriot.com on the website, but you said if people want to DM you, where else do people find you on social media? What other sites are you using the most these days where you would like people to follow Tour de Patriot?
Right now, it's on my Instagram, which is at soulful_training. So soulful is SOLEFUL, like the sole of your foot, _training. I'm going to give updates there. I'm probably going to do a lot of my live streams there. on the actual ride, I'll probably do an Instagram lives and posting on Instagram and TikTok and whatnot. So
Oh, that's right. You asked me to do an Instagram live before. Let's do an Instagram live. When do you want to do the next one? It was 6 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago.
How about Monday? You want to do on Monday?
Hit me up send me a text. We'll see if Monday works. Let me check things. But yeah, I've been meaning to do that. I don't use Instagram. I don't use Instagram that way, and I need to start using it for that kind of I sort of gave up because it's a Meta product and it's Zuckerberg, and they don't like me, we don't like them. But you know what? Screw it. As long as I have it, let's do it. So I want to do a live with you on Instagram. Let's talk offline and make that happen. And yeah, check out tourtopatriot.com for more information. Adam, it's an exciting project. I wish I could say I'm going to fly out and join you, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm feeling up for that, but I am excited for you, and it's a cool project. And yeah, try to remember the good things in the good places our country has, the things we've done that were good, the things that we can do that are better, and just try to focus on that. A lot of shysters are getting us in the weeds, angry and resentful about things that we can't undo. Let's focus on tomorrow. Let's focus on the next 4 years. And let's try to unite this country again. I mean, that's what the original 13 colonies were trying to do. Everyone had their own thing going on. And it's like, look, unite or die. It's either we all come together or we're going to be torn apart. Assuredly, we must hang together, or assuredly we'll all hang separately. So, I mean, truer words have never been spoken. It would be a great time to unite this country as Americans on these strange times that we find ourselves in. So, all right,
the only way to get through this crazy experiment.
Absolutely. Final thoughts on your way out the door? Wrap it up for us, sir.
Nothing. I'm excited for the project. I'm excited to speak to all of you. I'm excited to do something positive. Don't ignore the negative, but focus on the positive.
Good. I like that. And yes, hit me up. We will do an Instagram live. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, best wishes to you. Keep up the good work, and we will talk again soon. Thank you again, Adam.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, sure thing. There goes Adam Boyd. Check out tourtopatriot.com for more information, everybody. And this is today's episode of the Agree to Disagree show. My name's Brian Engelman. Once again, follow the New American Media on Truth Social. Also go to Spotify. Our podcast is The Agree to Disagree Show. Hit subscribe. On Rumble, we are The New American Media. Hit subscribe over there. Please, that is one of our favorite platforms these days. Telegram, we're TNAM and TNAM Chat. That's TNAM for The New American Media. So TNAM and TNAM Chat on Telegram. On X, we're at American_Media_. In the Facebook groups, search TNAM and you'll find a whole bunch of our groups. Join them. They're private. And if they ask how'd you find us, say Brian sent you. And you can follow our page, The New American Media. Also, as he said, as Adam Boyd said right there, Instagram, find our page, The New American Media. YouTube.com/@The New American Media as well. And Patreon.com/The New American Media if you'd like to support independent journalism. Awesome. That was cool having two guests today. I want to get into that regular. We got a nice time frame with Blake. Blake is usually 3 o'clock to 4:45. And then right at 4:45, that'd be a great time to bring in a special guest. That was fun. So anyway, got some ideas on how to format the program moving forward. I hope you enjoyed today's show, and I hope you stick around for our upcoming shows. So I'll be signing out. Thank you to Kenneth and everybody else in the chat room. Special thanks to Blake, Walley, and Adam Boyd for joining us. Signing out here. I appreciate you.